Broadcast
discipline, but
on.
only of a few, and then the rest of it, I don't know how it got into that.
All right, we're going to call this meeting to order. Roll call, please. Seems awful quiet.
Councilmember Wade Coons, she'll be late, won't she? Councilmember Todd,
Here.
Councilmember Saper,
Here.
Councilmember McGrone,
Here.
Councilmember Smith,
Here.
Councilmember Fitzgerald,
Here.
Councilmember Alvarez,
Here.
Councilmember Clark.
Here.
All right, and tonight we will have our special guest, the Marigold Club of North Kansas City, here help lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you guys want to step up, or you probably do it in place, I guess. So either way, there we go. All right, whenever you guys are ready. There we go. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You can't beat that one. Thank you. Next item, and I feel like I'm still not coming over very well. There we go. Next item is the comments from or approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
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 Any opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next items, comments from the public. Anyone from the public wishing to speak this evening, please step up to the podium. Seeing none, that is the end of comments from the public. Next up, ceremonial matters, and the first one's, and you guys are next. You'll be my second one, but the first one's the National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, which I believe, do we have someone? Oh, there we go. Always want to recognize these folks. This is who you want on the other end of the line when you call for help. We have some of the most professional people and great at helping our first responders get to where they need to go and help serve our community. So we appreciate everything you do, and always happy to recognize this week. So thank you. I'll come around here.
Okay, yep. All right, yep.
Don't just sit there like you don't know what's happening.
Every time this gets me.
I didn't want to say it on the mic.
Got it.
We witnessed others work. It didn't work. So we tried with Kansas City and it didn't work. So. All right. Now for the one I think most of the people are here for is a proclamation recognizing the Marigold Club. It's been very exciting recently to learn more about what the Marigold Club does here in North Kansas City. I'm very excited about your guys' futures in an organization. You know, that being civically involved and having especially youth civically involved is just critical to the future. And so I appreciate you all and what you all have been doing. So the Marigold Club was founded by Allison and Courtney, who began it as a Girl Scout troop in 2023, and then it became the Marigold Club in 2024. The club is named in honor of the marigold, which is the official city flower of North Kansas City. And the Marigold Club is made up of youth who are friends and neighbors coming together to explore new hobbies, support one another, and find ways to contribute to the North Kansas City community. And whereas the members of the Marigold Club are focused on learning, growing, and having fun while contributing to the place they call home, and whereas the club is shaping its vision and activities with plans to engage youth in a meaningful and with plans to educate youth in meaningful and educational opportunities focused on civic engagement, community service, and learning more about the city they all call home. So now, therefore, I, Bryant DeLong, Mayor of the City of North Kansas City, do hereby recognize and commend the members and the founders of the Marigold Club, and I urge all citizens to join me in celebrating the Marigold Club for their enthusiasm, creativity, and commitment to building a stronger community and inspiring the next generation of civic-minded leaders. So thank you all, and thank you all for coming this evening. I have a few proclamations for you all, if you all want to step up real quick. Or if there's anything you want to say. Sorry, I meant... Did you want to add anything about the club first, or? There we go. Then we'll do that. Okay. I didn't want to take away the chance. All right. Right up here. Okay, we can get you all proclamations. We'll sort this out sometime after. I don't know. I've always wanted a proclamation. There you go.
I don't think there's enough around.
Okay, perfect. All right. Right that way. You gotta get a big smile in here. more running. Now, number 8 is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item is number 10, Bike Walk KC. Bike Share KC Carbon Reduction Grant Program Update, which I heard at least one kid talk about where they need some more of this. You might want to stick around for at least one more item if you want to hear about carbon reduction and Bike Share Program.
Carbon reduction.
Good evening.
You all for having me tonight. Tonight, we have a decision for you on the Carbon Reduction Program grant that was awarded in 2024. You may recall that we were awarded this grant with the intention of paying for both new bikes and hubs, as well as operations. And then after the grant was awarded, we found out that the operations portion was not actually eligible for the grant award. So being the current environment that we're in and that some of these carbon-related funding may be going away, we're recommending that you proceed with the grant match for the capital on the project so that the city can go ahead and acquire the capital, and then we can go ahead and utilize those at any point in the future once the operational funding is identified. What that really does is keeps the city's option open so that we don't lose the grant award, and allows you to use it either immediately if that funding is available or in a year's time. It also would allow those bikes to be kept on reserve for the World Cup that we have coming next year. The current fleet size is certainly below capacity to serve that type of event, so that would greatly benefit us for the World Cup. And the bikes could even be kept in reserve to be used partially as a retirement plan for the current fleet when they do eventually age out.
So the capital that you're referring to here, that's the 25 bikes, 20 batteries, 3 bike racks, and 3 wayfinding signage. Is that all?
Correct. And
Okay.
so it would be $22,300 for the match that would unlock $111,500 in total.
Okay, and it may make sense, see what council says, but on storing some of those if we decide to go ahead with the purchase. So then my question would be, what is the shelf life on those batteries? How do you maintain something like that? That seems like a hard thing just kind of let sit around for.
Yeah, we buy them all with a 5-year warranty on them, so you have at least 5 years.
Okay, there you go. We'll open up to Councilmember Smith.
Yeah, dig a little deeper on that. These are lithium batteries, correct?
Correct.
So the 5-year warranty being what it is, if you let those sit, they're going to not be as good after a year. They'll be even worse after further. So if am I understanding correctly, we can allocate the money but not buy the batteries yet, or do we have to buy them now?
It's a reimbursement grant, so we have to buy them, yeah. We would not let the batteries just sit, though, so they would never go to true dead. We would still be charging them on some interval to keep the life as good as they can be. And the 5-year warranty is sort of the minimum life that you would get out of them.
Sure.
They probably do have more life beyond that.
Yeah, and I don't know why I know this about lithium batteries. I've gotten a little nerdy with battery chemistry, but these are the kind that like you want to be running full cycles through rather than letting them sit, especially not topped off. And it can very much degrade the battery life. And warranties are such that often they won't cover that if you didn't do exactly what you're supposed to with the charging. So it's just something for us to think about with that. And the other piece was the pricing seems like wildly high. I'm not sure if that's because these are public use e-bikes, but the bikes were in the 30, I can't see the numbers here, like 3,500, and the batteries were 700 and some change for the.
Right.
What amp hour, do we know the specs on these batteries?
Yeah, so they're 17.5 amp hour batteries, 350 watt motors on the bikes. The pricing is partly because they're public use bikes, so they're made to be outside all year round. They're not a bike that you would find in the consumer level. They're a higher tier than that. But if you're looking at electric bikes and you go to one of your local bike shops, you're not going to get into a quality bike shop for less than, say, $3,000-4,000. So the pricing is still fairly competitive overall.
Have we bid this? Are we looking at other options? I mean, I have recently gone down the rabbit hole on e-bikes. I purchased one. It's one of the higher ends, and it came in at $1,500. It's not one that you leave outside all year. I give you that. But are we looking at bids or other operators in the space, or is it just these are the ones that have been selected?
It's a sole source procurement because it has to be compatible with the system, the regional system. So there won't be that. However, we did go through an RFI process and selected this vendor several years ago.
Yeah.
I can tell you, you may remember we used to have the docking stations here. That was through a company called B-Cycle, which is a Trek product.
Yep.
Their e-bikes are currently running about $6,000, and they don't have GPS on them. So you're getting a GPS-enabled bike for, a little more than half of that price.
So you said we bid it a couple years ago. As with all technology, the price comes down as they proliferate. Do we have a time when we're looking to bid it again? As you let the contract ride, the prices don't change if they've locked it in.
We're not looking to bid it anytime soon because this vendor has met all the criteria of the contract. As somebody that follows the space really closely, I could promise you that you're not going to find a better deal in the shared use space on these bikes. We will not find a product for less than $3,000 anywhere in shared use mobility.
Okay. Appreciate it.
Councilman Fitzgerald.
Would you be able to speak on the age of our current bike fleet? I'm not particularly familiar with it.
Yeah, I believe they still have 3 years left. We launched them 2 years ago, and so they've got at least another 3 years before they're at recommended end of life, which is just the manufacturer's way of saying that it's not in warranty anymore. But given that we replaced the batteries on them, they can have several more years of life beyond that.
Maybe not particularly urgent from that front. And just to make sure I'm understanding the numbers on this, would be looking at spending about $22,000 to acquire $111,000 of capital.
Right.
And then it's about 40-some a year for operations of that?
Correct.
Okay.
And the operations would not begin until they actually go into service, and so the city can choose when that occurs.
I see. So that'd be above and beyond the current fleet now.
Right.
So, thank you.
Right.
City can choose to. Mine just seems. I don't know. Yeah.
You want me to go through?
No. Sorry, I'm just staring at the memo again here. Further comments, Councilmember Saper.
Okay, we're talking about buying 25 bikes and an additional 20 batteries.
Right.
To cycle through them you can. The question I have is, okay, you need to expend the grant money for the 25 bikes. What is the drop dead date on that expenditure?
Technically, it's October. However, what we're hearing is that these carbon-related funds may be next on the chopping block at the federal level, and so we can't promise that funding is going to be in place through October.
So we're really answering two questions here, right? One's proceed with the capital purchase.
Right.
And then the other one's determining how we want to allocate that, I guess, over time into the fleet.
Correct.
Whether it be all at once or
Correct.
over a
And
multi-year
the city, we would work with city staff to determine which strategy is best for the city in terms of the timing of putting it into service.
Okay.
And like I said, it doesn't have to go into effect immediately. We can store those bikes until the city is ready.
Okay. This program we supported before, so I guess I'll go ahead and start with, is council interested in proceeding with the capital purchase? Councilmember McGrone.
I did have one other question. So if, how many bikes do we currently have out there right now?
30.
30? And this is potentially an additional 25 that we could put out there.
Correct.
Does that include additional hubs or?
Yes, it does. 3 additional hubs, so 3 more service locations.
So those 3 service locations, are those, we wouldn't get those unless we spent the money on the bikes with this grant, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
The current number of bikes you have isn't enough to support 3 more service locations.
Okay. Excellent. All right. That's the only question I have.
How is ridership? Especially North Kansas City, I guess.
It is really good. You may have seen in the annual report,
Looking at now.
your ridership took a 413% jump from when you upgraded to the electric bikes. And then this past year, so the following year after that, you saw another 15% increase beyond that. So we're really encouraged to see North KC continue to embrace electric bikes. And your overall rate per bike is just slightly above that we see in Kansas City, Missouri, which we often use as sort of a benchmark, being that it's a very urbanized area.
Perfect. And that's attached to the March 4th agenda if someone wants to pull up that annual report. Smith, Saper.
I'm in favor. I can gripe about pricing all I want, but I'm in favor on doing this because they're effectively getting an 80% discount on capital purchase. So even if the bikes are higher than I expect to see, we're still buying them at a much reduced rate. So, and especially with federal money just disappearing left and right, let's grab it while it's there.
That's right. We are very much concerned that this might be one of the last opportunities for the foreseeable future to get this equipment at a discount.
Yep. We might be talking hours the way this stuff's moving. Councilmember Saper.
Okay, I'm in favor of buying the bikes, but in terms of the operating costs, if without any grant money, it's a lot of money to be spending on the operations from the city budget. Is there any asset value to the bikes? Can they be sold?
They potentially can be resold. However, it would have to go to a community that operates the same program because the technology is only compatible one-to-one. So it does limit the market some.
So there really isn't much of a resale market for it.
You would not get the same value out of it immediately, no.
So we'd be stuck with them.
Right, right. However, this could be, and as I outlined in point 3, at the point where your current fleet ages out, these bikes, let's say you decided to not put them into operation because of the costs, these bikes could then become the retirement plan for your current fleet.
Let me ask timing on that. And I don't know where council's going to land here, but if they seem to be needing more time on maybe how they want to allocate, we can do the capital now and still have some time to maybe make another decision on how that gets allocated.
Right, and that is totally at the discretion of
Okay.
the city. You can take as much time as you need to
Okay.
decide when they go into service.
Yeah. There might be a lot more questions on, when bikes roll off and,
Right.
I don't know, kind of plotting that all out. If we're gonna
Right.
be cycling stuff through.
And we can put them in on a temporary basis, say, for something like the World Cup, if you just wanted them in service for a month or two, and then take them back out.
Yeah. Any comments? Any further comments? Capital purchase. Should we proceed with the capital purchase? We'll go any opposed, any opposed, any opposed? No. So we'll proceed with the capital purchase. And then do we want to further discuss how we work those into the fleet tonight or move that down the road a little? Move it down the road. Yeah, I guess, I like that. I think I heard something over here, start to work with staff and put together, a plan, a couple plans, and then bring something back.
Great.
There we go.
We-
Thank
we
you for
will,
presenting. Get those bought before these programs go away.
Absolutely. We'll action the procurement and work with staff on next steps for the remainder.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate you coming out tonight. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Now I've rotated everything around. Discussion. Number 11, discussion regarding neighborhood block party policy. Mike, you can start this one here.
So, based on discussion at the last, is that on?
It just seems really quiet tonight.
Yeah, based on the discussion
Every
from
time
the
I
last
heard of it.
meeting, we threw this on here. Shoes put together a good memo here with good talking points, and that was the whole goal of tonight, to see how you want to proceed, as a result of the one to figure out from last time.
Well, looking at some other cities, it seems like there's a pretty simple solution to most of our conversation last time, and it's just, and I can't remember, it was Merriam or Roland Park. It was like the block party must occur in a residential neighborhood and be organized by a resident in that respective neighborhood. like just adding that sort of language seems to resolve like 90% of what we talked about a few weeks ago, but open to Councilmember Smith.
Yeah, so the questions at the bottom of this memo are basically from an email I sent to Shu after the last discussion. And that language would be a pretty easy copy paste, it sounds like. But for the questions that I had, I'd love to hear discussion, but I'll go ahead and give my thoughts. So should residents be allowed to request a block party for a street that is not adjacent to their residence, especially since that would prevent residents on the block from planning their own party? And I would say no. I think we did approve the one-off, but I think you need to live on the block where you are requesting the party. That pretty much takes care of the second one. Should residents be able to request a block party on behalf of an organization, business, church, et cetera? It, again, should be requested and hosted by somebody who lives on that block. If they want to have maybe sponsors who come in and alongside, that's something I would like to hear discussion on. How do we define a block? I think the word is actually neighborhood. In the noted ordinance above, it says, where are we at? It says a neighborhood can only have one per year. We defined a block, but we didn't define neighborhood. I think block and neighborhood should be synonymous. So if you have one on that block as defined in the ordinance, that is your one per year. But it was also requested and hosted by a resident of the block. And then the piece that we will need to figure out is, should there be a designated block party space for people who live in apartments? Because that they don't have what we would consider a block. Now, some apartments have a common space that they could host a thing, but I don't know, some don't. And so I'm open to ideas on that.
My one concern would be just restricting this too much. Have we had any sort of, do you feel like, abuse of this program? Or, I mean, we really haven't a whole lot of these. Because I've gotten a bunch of these cities ordinances and stuff, and most of them like 3 rules.
Yeah, Shu
Because it
has,
seems like a pretty simple matter overall.
she
Yeah.
counted up on last year's usage of it.
Yeah.
So I totaled the last 3 years, 2022, 23, and 24, and these were calendar years, and the numbers are showing above over here. So they're generally pretty steady. In 2022, we have 6. In 2023, we have 4. In 2024, we had 7. So I would not call there is an abuse of the program because it made it very clear that it's a one block party. When we're talking about one block party, we're talking about the ones that we are actually giving the grants away. If it's just a short-term conditional use permit, it doesn't involve city grants, you can have as many as you want. There's no limit. And I want to make
Yeah.
a clarification over there. And so what I totaled off of the fiscal year, because our budget is based off fiscal year that goes from October 1st to September 30th. I pulled the data out for the past fiscal year in 2024 and then 2023. It is within our budget, meaning that so far there is no consideration of amending the budget because there is a dramatic increase of the amount of neighborhood parties. And most of them are very legit neighborhood parties. They're usually located on the neighborhood roads, and there was one that located in the Mackin Park because they're trying to cover a little bit more of the blocks at once. So that's a more efficient way to do it. But I would not call there is any evidence showing there is an abusement to this program.
Yeah. I just always say getting into too much rulemaking on something that's, I think, a fairly straightforward
Right.
item generally. And I think if you added the language I said a second ago, that pretty much rules out organizations, putting them on, and then that rules out people not, obviously we want it's a residential block party program. That's what it's supposed to be for residents. Although the last question's the more interesting one, may take longer to talk about. Councilmember McGrone.
I also wanted to talk about the difference between a neighborhood and a block because I think it was point C in the memo says, point B says, per the purposes of this policy, a block is identified as a street segment located between cross streets, blah, blah, blah. And then point C is the city will reimburse eligible expenses up to $400 per event. Neighborhoods may receive the block party grant once per year. Help me understand what the difference is between neighborhood and block in this sense?
So over here, it has a pretty clear definition of what is a block. It's identified by the street segment. So it's said here, it's from intersection to intersection or intersection to cul-de-sac. So that's the traditional way you define in a block. However, we don't really per code have any definition about
So can we,
particular neighborhood.
would people be okay with taking out the word neighborhood and saying blocks may receive block party grants? Because I would hate for people to get caught up in that
Yeah.
semantics.
Yeah, absolutely. And we also in the past had a few blocks, like they all joined together and to do one party. And they've asked, oh, if we're doing block by block, we can have several. And if we're doing all together, can we increase the amount? Is that still 400 over there? And we typically told them that's usually no because of this language over here. So it says the neighborhood may receive the block party. That's how I usually interpret it. So if we want to clarify it's a block, particular block by block, then I think that will be helpful.
Yeah, that would mean that if a group of, 3 blocks on Erie Street wanted to get together and throw a block party, they could each apply for a $400 grant for one block party and then spend $1,200 on the whole thing.
If that's what you wish to do.
Okay, excellent.
Then I'd refine that statement I said earlier. Now I feel like I'm really loud. The block party must occur in a residential neighborhood and be organized by a resident in that respective block instead of ending with neighborhood. Yeah. There we go. Are we all good with the first portion there? I think that kind of satisfies some of what we were having issues with last time. Okay, then that takes us to the very, I feel super loud. Okay. That's where it normally is, though. Okay. Then that takes us to the last question, was related to block party space for apartments. All right, what do we got on thoughts on this one? I'm open to whatever ideas. Very good. We're full of them here tonight. Okay. Marcia's got one. What do we got?
I would be, that's so funny. I would be for it, for the apartment complexes to be able to have a block party space. So I'm thinking about that from like a space aspect, parking, utilization of spaces, right? Because different apartments will have different rules and regulations as far as capacity, where you can go, what needs to be open to their residents versus a separate party, right? So I personally think a block party space would be awesome and would also allow for multiple complexes to come together, congregate, meet one another, and build a stronger neighborhood, right? In which neighbors know one another, look out for each other, and socialize, and it's beneficial for the overall character of the city.
There we go. Councilmember Smith, Councilmember Saper. Oh, Councilmember Gunn saw that too.
So I agree. I'd like a space designated. It could be an either or, whether if they have a space at the apartment, because the allure of block parties, you walk right out your door. You don't have to carry all the stuff necessarily. So if they have a space at the apartments, that's fine. But also, perhaps we could team up with Parks and Rec. This would have to go through the Parks Board to have a shelter, complimentary shelter rental for a block party. Pick the shelter. I don't know if we could do the main festival shelter. That one's in pretty high demand, but one of the other outlying shelters could be available. And I think capacity limits are off after post-COVID. Do we still have capacity limits on those?
Fire marshal's capacity limits. I think that'd be the only
Okay, no, so that would work as an opportunistic central space.
Yeah, but we would still allow, if they want to do it within the complex, to do that as well. Because, there's obviously spaces, depending on where you're at, to maybe do that. Okay, what did I say? I said something a minute ago. Saper, McGrone,
Well,
Clark.
yeah, we've already had one block party at Mackin Park. And that seems like the designated space that would be available for the use of apartments that didn't have any other kind of facility available for their use. And I'm for that.
There we go, Councilmember McGrone.
So I am also for this. However, I think we need to think of the logistics of something like this. If we are saying that a block can have one party per year with one grant, how do we define a block in multiple apartment complexes around our town? If somebody from floor 4 of the Oxbow says that they want a grant for a block party at Mackin Park, does that preclude everyone from floor 4 from applying for another block party grant? Does that preclude everyone from the Oxbow from applying? How do we, I think it's a great idea. I think logistically, this is going to be an incredibly challenging and taxing thing on both city staff and apartment staff to try to figure out. I'm not saying that it's impossible, and I really do think that this is something that would be good if we could come up with an idea on how to manage it. But I think that before we all say, great, let's go ahead and do this, we have to think about how will this actually logistically be accomplished.
Mike's got something that will go. Councilmember Clark.
That was one of the questions. I mean, Oxbow is one building, but other apartments have multiple buildings. So do you do it by floor, by building, or just the entire complex itself? I mean, those are things we could talk about and figure out, but how do you do it in an equitable way?
A complex formula. You're gonna need a table and a formula. We'll create a form for you. You have to input it. You'll get a kick out whether or not it's approved. I don't know how else you do that because it's like, oh, well, it's a floor. Well, a floor over at Galley Lofts is much different than a floor, like you said, at the Oxbow. Floor is
Right.
different.
Right.
You're gonna need a table.
I mean, first thought is by building, but
Yeah.
but even that varies.
Yeah, Councilmember Clark.
Right, that's the piece that I was curious about. I mean, when I think about like the backyard apartments and as many people, as many units that are on each floor, I mean, it's kind of one of those, like we haven't had anybody apply, I don't imagine, but we do want to get ahead of it to get a feel and an idea, because I think about, French Quarter, they've got all those individual buildings. Same with Sunny Hill Apartments, they've got a lot of individual buildings, and just trying to line that out. Is it still going to be like by block of buildings, or because you'd still want to get the message out and the word out, but I don't want to overcomplicate it so people are like, I'm not going to bother. So
My question to staff would be, if someone for an apartment building walked in with an application right now, what would we do?
Send them
So-
to Erie.
With all the requirements that stay as of today, just like the one you handled from the last meeting, that was actually from an apartment on Swift. They wanted to hold this block party on a different street. We say you could, but you have to invite everybody in that particular block. And
Okay.
that,
I guess
when
I'll
you
ju-
look at the block, it's
Yeah.
from that intersection to the intersection. So all the buildings on this block have to be invited to this party.
I guess I'll change the scenario just a little bit. What if it was I'll pick on the Oxbow. In the Oxbow, they're saying we're going to do it on our property somewhere. A resident comes in. Because obviously then you're not off property somewhere else. Would that be one you would just approve now or you'd bring to council?
So the reason the past one that come
Yeah.
to the council was because it's in the downtown character area and they're closing the street. So if they are not within the downtown area, or if they're within the downtown area, they don't close the street, not have more than 500 attendees, that is administrative approval. The city administrator will review and approve
So
it.
we'd already allow apartments to do this.
We already allowed
just-
apartment
okay.
to apply for it.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're good on that. Okay, that
Right.
part's good.
There's nothing precludes them from applying for it, and that's why they applied for it.
Yeah, perfect. Councilmember Alvarez, you kind of look like, there we go.
Yeah, I was just going to agree with Councilman McGrone. I think I like the idea, but I think can be very complicated that way. And I think the original block party should be just kept simple as the neighborhood block party, getting to know your neighborhood, your neighbors, et cetera. But I don't know if we could come up with something separate for apartments. I think it would almost have to be separate, so.
Thank you, Councilmember Wakefield.
Okay, so as an apartment dweller, there are still rules and procedures that we still have to go through, right? Like, as a resident, I can't just put, the invitations on everyone's door, right? Like, that is something that would need to go through management to say, hey, this is what we're doing. We can send an email out. It doesn't necessarily need to be, or could be individualized. That will depend on the management. So,
Yeah.
Different strokes, different folks. But there is still some procedures that would need to, or that could be followed when it comes to something like that. Now, if someone were to, let's say I just wanted floor 4 somewhere, yeah, but I would not consider that something that we would do from a grant perspective. That is a simple party on behalf of the people that you know on your specific floor, right? So that wouldn't really apply to us. But I think we could still include apartments if it is the apartment management that is taking the planning perspective from there, right? Another way, it could be that, let's say there's multiple apartment complexes that are getting together. You can have, let's say like up to $200 per block party if you wanted to, like on behalf of all the apartment complexes or whatever. It doesn't necessarily have to be a $400, one-time thing. But
Thank you. Councilmember Smith.
So the way blocks are laid out, it's inherently not quote-unquote fair. There's different sizes of blocks throughout the city. You think the blocks on Fayette, Erie, those are much longer blocks than they are in the avenues, right? There's going to be a different number of people. But I think what we could do with apartments is say each apartment complex has X number of residents there. And if they have, for example, 400 residents, we could say 100 residents counts as a block. We'll give you 4 parties a year for that complex. And it doesn't matter, if the management can facilitate the invites, send it to management, they send out the invites, but that meets the everybody's got to be invited criteria. We would just say, okay, if you have 300, every increment of 100 counts as a block party, and you invite everybody. It would have to be a different person applying each time. You can't have one person apply every couple of weeks to throw a big party. But I think that's how we could slice it up. We got to pick a number at some point. So 100 feels fair.
I'm trying to quickly Google this. I'm sure this has been solved by some other city already. I'm not coming up with something fast enough to not make the meeting awkward.
We don't have to have the answer right
Yeah,
now.
that's what I was going to say. If we support the idea.
The idea,
How about
though,
more
is
research?
this
There we
doesn't
go.
come back to us more often than not, so it is in staff's lap for a lot of it, and only because of the unique characteristics of the last one is why we saw it. And so I don't want, I agree, I don't like overlaying a ton of rules, but staff does need a metric to make those decisions.
City's got all kinds of stuff.
We have our notes. I think both Shu and I have the notes for tonight. So, I mean, we know on the block, the actual residential, single family unit or duplex type block. Apartment-wise, I think we can put our heads together with other staff and kind of come back with our recommendation. See what you think, and a little more discussion. All right?
Beautiful. Thank you. This is a long one. Crystal, you want this one?
Number 12, consideration of an ordinance approving declaration and agreement of stormwater facility maintenance covenant between City of North Kansas City, Missouri and Bloom NKC LLC, long-term maintenance of underground stormwater storage facilities. Bill number 7911, ordinance number 9708.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, the title itself speaks to exactly what this is. You passed one very similar to it 2 weeks ago tonight for 23rd and Swift. The primary thing and the importance of this is once executed by the parties, it will be recorded with the Recorder of Deeds, and therefore there will be this ongoing, continuing obligation to maintain the stormwater facilities on this property, on this development, into the future. Okay? It's permanent, it's long-term, and it's in the city's best interest that this be approved. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
First reading?
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries.
An ordinance adopting and approving a declaration and agreement of stormwater facility maintenance covenant by and between the City of North Kansas City, Missouri and Bloom NKC LLC regarding real property generally located along the east side of Burlington and south of 31st Avenue in the City of North Kansas City, Missouri.
I move that bill number 7911 be placed on second and final reading and pass as ordinance number 9708.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Wade Kuntz,
yes.
Councilmember Todd?
Yes.
Councilmember Saper?
Yes.
Councilmember McGrone?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Yes.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
An ordinance adopting and approving a declaration and agreement of stormwater facility maintenance covenant by and between the city of North Kansas City, Missouri and Bloom NKC LLC regarding real property generally located along the east side of Burlington and south of 31st Avenue in the city of North Kansas City, Missouri.
Next item, please.
Number 13,
Go.
Consideration of an ordinance approving accounts due and payable by the city through March 28, 2025. Bill number 7912, ordinance number 9709.
First reading.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
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 Any opposed, say no. Motion carries.
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through March 28, 2025.
All right, I move that bill number 7912 be placed on second and final reading and pass as ordinance number 9709.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Wade Coons?
Yes.
Councilmember Todd?
Yes.
Councilmember Saper?
Yes.
Councilmember McGrone?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Yes.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through March 28, 2025.
There we go. Number 12, or 14, staff comments.
All right. Only one comment tonight. I'm going to point out in the agenda is the first YMCA report with the new memberships. Now, I apologize for February. I didn't have the count of number of memberships, but I just got March's today. There's 234 resident memberships and 8 employee memberships. Our bill-wise, I think we were looking at usually 3,500-ish or somewhere around there with the increase. You can see here we're at about 8,500. March's bill is about 9,100. But I will say that Andrea has expressed how many residents have come up and said that them having a membership wouldn't be possible without the council's action. So very much appreciated.
Beautiful.
That's it from everybody.
That's all of it.
That's it.
There we go. Go around the horn here. Councilmember Wade Coons, you're leading off tonight.
All right, sorry for the tardiness, but my flight got in safely. We are happy about that. I don't really have anything to say other than happy spring, happy, this is April Fool's, right? Yeah. Happy Financial Literacy Month. And
Wasn't ready for that.
thanks, I know. Thanks to everyone. That's it.
Thank you. Councilmember Todd.
Yeah, I'm going to be wordy today. This is my last full meeting, you guys. Very excited. So first, thank you to the Marigold Club who came out and gave our pledge today. And shout out to Lassie and Courtney who have just taken it to themselves to actually create this little community of children in our city who are doing things and learning about how the city works and learning about how to grow plants and learning how to be kind to each other. And, these are 2 women in our city who didn't have any necessarily direct connection to any of these kids who just said, I want to do this and I want to invest in kids in our community. And it's really, really incredible. And those are 2 incredible women. And I'm so, so proud that I know them. So proud of them. Also, yeah, this is my last full meeting, so I'll try not to be too wordy. But I do want to just say, I never envisioned myself ever sitting here or running for any sort of government office. Not really my kind of thing, but I really, really wish that more people would do it. And it's been such an eye-opening, humbling, and fun experience. Much more fun than I expected it to be. And this city is really home to me, and I'm going to get emotional, but for someone who didn't have a home growing up, I moved every 1 to 2 years growing up, and I never knew what home felt like, and North Kansas City is home, and it's community, and it's beautiful, and so just from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate every single person sitting here. This city has such an incredible staff
And every person on this council has been nothing but a joy to work with, even when we disagree. And it's very just heartening for the future, and heartening for knowing that my kids are growing up here and knowing that our city is in such great hands. I am such an advocate now for anyone just stepping up to get involved in any way, because your voice matters absolutely in this place. And you can't say that in a lot of places, especially in today's America. But here it does. Your voice matters no matter who you are in this city. And so I just want to continue to encourage people to use that voice, whether that means running for your local government, sitting on a board, attending the Citizens Academy, which I plan to actually do now, now that I'm going to be off city council, or even just getting out and using your vote. Elections are coming up April 8th. That is your most important voice, so make sure that you use it. And just from the bottom of my heart, I really, really appreciate this opportunity. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you. Councilmember Saver.
And thank you for all that you've done while you've served on the city council and for those words. This is a very unique city, and we need to keep that uniqueness for future generations. And I'm glad the Marigolds were here too. We now know who will be sitting in these seats one day. Thank you.
Councilmember Graham.
Tabitha and Marcia, I'm going to miss working with both of you in an official capacity, but I know that you guys will both continue to contribute to North Kansas City in very meaningful ways, and I look forward to seeing what comes of that over time. So you guys are both been wonderful. Thank you so much for serving and for being great people. Also, congrats to the Marigold Club. Lassie and Courtney have created something really special here in North Kansas City, and I think we're really fortunate to have people who care and have such great kids and something so unique to Northtown that that is the Marigold. So good for them.
Perfect. Thank you, Councilmember Smith.
Tabitha, you've been a breath of fresh air on the council. Thank you for all you've done. I still remember sitting down to have a coffee when you declared your candidacy, and I cannot believe it's been a little over 2 years now. Goodness. We will certainly miss you on the board or on the council, but you'll be on a board or something here pretty soon, I'm sure. Happy April Fool's Day, everybody. I'm sorry if I gave anyone a heart attack. I've heard from a number of staff members that I have disrupted a lot of goings-on today at City Hall. But Farmer Joe's does sound kind of exciting. If you haven't checked, it's on the Facebook group. Let's see. Marcia didn't mention it, but she has registered as a write-in candidate officially. So if you need help spelling her name, let me check this out really quick, make sure I get it right. It is pause, get a pen. It's Marcia space WADE hyphen KUNTZ. You must spell that correctly on the ballot. And she has been wonderful to work with in her short time on the council. So that is Marcia Wade Kuntz. And that segues nicely into Go Vote. You can go vote now at the Clay County Election Board. Early voting is wide open, takes about 15 minutes tops. And the YMCA is our polling place. I've spoken with staff there, and the voting will actually take place in the room behind the front desk now. I've had a few of my friends at the Gardens Apartments have asked if it could be moved back from the gym. It was a long walk. It is now back in the community room behind the front desk. So please go vote.
Perfect. Councilmember Fitzgerald.
A lot of good comments already. I have nothing else to add.
Councilmember Alvarez.
Yeah, I guess just repeating the Marigold Club, appreciate their Pledge of Allegiance, and they were just adorable. So also, let's mention our public safety telecommunicators. Next week is National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. So they kind of celebrate through the entire week for the work that they do. A lot of times people have no idea. They're the kind of people that are behind the scenes. You don't see them. You don't really hear what they do, but they work very, very hard. And I think we have exceptional dispatchers or public safety telecommunicators here. Most of them have been here for up teen years, and we have a very low turnover rate, which is extremely rare. So I just want to congratulate them. And also to Tabitha, we have gotten to know you, and I love the way that no matter how you voice your opinion, you have an explanation behind it, and that's awesome. And Marcia, love getting to know you too, even though it's been a short time. And I think that's it. Okay.
Thank
Thanks.
you, Councilmember Clark.
All right, last but not least, Marigold Club. Thanks for informing me that our city flower is the marigold tonight. 10 years, guys. 10 years. Lived here. Okay, it's important to admit. Plants, growth, kindness. I'm all for it. Telecommunicators, we appreciate you, and I hope to never have to talk to you while you're working. The thing to consider on the biking aspect is that we're still looking for alternative transportation options, knowing that the bus costs are consistently rising. So I just want us to all feel that out. And it's funny to weigh out the cost of bikes against the cost of buses. When we compare those two, this feels pretty nominal. Councilmember Todd, you're a fantastic human, and I've loved our time together on council. In case I don't get the chance to say that later, yes, and I agree with you, Councilmember Todd. Your voice matters. Everyone in the public, your voice matters. Please go out and vote next week. I'm glad Jessie mentioned it because I have it in my notes because you decided to leave it off. She did officially register for the one-year seat in Ward 4, so please consider that. I don't even know if it has to be spelled perfectly, but try your best. Do not avoid writing something in if you feel you want to support Marcia, but write it in. We hope to see you out there, and thank you.
Thank you. Again, Telecommunicators Week, very, very tough job. But again, we have some of the best answering the phone every time, and very grateful to live in a community that has great dispatchers answering the phone and then great public safety on the back end. So great team over there, and always great to celebrate them. Thank you to the Marigold Club. Lassie and Courtney have done an awesome job, and I can't wait to watch that club continue to grow and expand and do more and more stuff. They were talking about a Citizens Academy, maybe just for them, the group, the youth, and the community, which would be awesome because those kids are all very excited. One of them was asking me who they go to if they have any problems. I said, you might want to call your council member in your house. She goes, yeah, I know a council member. My mom's on council. I said, yeah, we're good. But no, always happy to have groups come out. It's fun having kids go through City Hall and stop in the mayor's office and do all that sort of stuff and ask questions. And they're way ahead of the curve than I think I was even at that age. They know what they want to see in their future in the community, and it's great to see that kind of participation. Outside of that, it has been an honor to work with you, Councilmember Todd. This has been fantastic, but we'll still be in the neighborhood, so we'll still be seeing you a lot. But it's been enjoyable several years. So thank you for stepping up and doing it. It's a large commitment. Appreciate everything that's occurred over the last several years. It's been fun. It's been great. Outside of that, we got a lot of executive sessions here. Are we ready to roll on these? Can I just read them once, or I have to read all of them? No, I'm kidding. Number 17, I already know the answer. Number 17, consideration request to hold and recess an executive session is requested by the city councilor to be held on this date on a litigation matter pursuant to Missouri Revised Statute 610-0211.
So move.
There we go.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Wade Kuntz?
Yes.
Councilmember Todd?
Yes.
Councilmember Saper?
Yes.
Councilmember McGrone?
Yes.
Councilmember
Yes.
Smith? Councilmember Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Yes.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Number 18, consideration request to hold and recess an executive session is requested by the city councilor to be held on this date on a potential litigation matter pursuant to Missouri Revised Statute 610-0211.
So move.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Wade Kuntz?
Yes.
Councilmember Todd?
Yes.
Councilmember Saper?
Yes.
Councilmember McGrone?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Yes.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Number 19, consideration request and holding a recess to an executive session is requested by the city administrator to be held on this date on a real estate matter pursuant to Missouri Revised Statute 610-0212.
So move.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Wade Kuntz?
Yes.
Councilmember Todd?
Yes.
Councilmember Saper?
Yes.
Councilmember McGrone?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Yes.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Number 20, consideration request to hold and recess to an executive session is requested by the city administrator to be held on this date on a personnel matter pursuant to Missouri Revised Statute 610-0213.
So move.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Wade Coons?
Yes.
Councilmember Todd?
Yes.
Councilmember Saper?
Yes.
Councilmember McGrone?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember
Yes.
Fitzgerald? Councilmember Alvarez?
Yes.
Councilmember
Yes.
Clark?
With that, Channel 2 and the live stream will cut off. There'll be no further public business or votes taken this evening. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.